How's everybody doing? I'm sorry, I forgot yesterday. I was so exhausted all day just cleaning and starting my cooking for Pesach. So I just totally remembered only at about 11 o'clock at night, and you do not want to see what I looked like last night. So I figured, you know what? I'll get a good night's sleep. I'll start over today. And I'm just waiting for a parking spot here at the shopping center, and I figured I would just get on here. Okay, so there's so much I want to say. Hashem, please give me all the ideas, all the words, everything that I wanted to give across today. First of all, yes, thank you very much. We're okay. We did survive the Iranian attack on Israel. And yes, it was an insane miracle. It was beautiful. It was incredible. I was kind of like thinking, is it considered an existential threat if you don't listen to the news and didn't even know it was an existential threat, and you just kind of wake up from the booms and you watch this fireworks show outside your window, and then you go back to sleep and you wake up in the morning and you hear actually that, you were under an existential threat, and the Iranians threatened to destroy the entire Jewish country. And last night, apparently we attacked them. We attacked the Iranians, and despite what they have to say, I think we knew what we were doing, and we did hit some good targets, and we just kind of put them in their place a little bit. So I mean Hashem. Obviously, I mean Hashem. There was a discussion that we were having over whether something is considered a miracle or not. I mean, yes, it's considered a miracle. No question about it. The question is more, is our natural existence possibly not a miracle? Like, is there ever a minute or a day or an event that happens that is not fully miraculous because it's fully in the hands of Hashem? I heard the scientist that was saying, how what happened to us, the fact that 99% of all the rockets and missiles and I don't even know what was going on there that were sent into Israel were shot down and were perfectly intercepted either by the Iron Dome or by the pilots in airplanes in the sky fighting a war. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. The fact that happened is more of a miracle than Kriyas Yamsuf, than the splitting of the Red Sea. But here he continued, the scientists continued to say, I would not be sure that we would be able to do this again without divine supervision. So I'm like, you think? You just said it was a complete miracle. How could we do anything without divine supervision? How could we even wake up in the morning? Okay, enough about that. So we have Hashem is totally watching us, and I feel like everyone kind of, even if they weren't completely aware that there was an existential threat, and they weren't freaking out, and they weren't saying goodbye to their kids and their family and their relatives and their friends. I heard some people did do that, but even if you weren't, you kind of have like a more of an appreciation today or the day after last Motzei Shabbos on Sunday. Like, since Sunday, I feel like even though things are still really scary and we still do have hostages, it's kind of a little wink that Hashem is like, you know what? I'm here. I'm taking care of you. I know what I'm doing. Just like, sit back. I'm going to take care of you guys. It's going to be okay. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I do feel that when we go into Pesach, and this is Shabbat haGadol, and by the way, Netivat Shalom says about Shabbat haGadol, why is it called Gadol? He says, first of all, actually in his mind, every Shabbat should be considered Gadol, because there's such light and there's such closeness and there's such great levels of relationship with Hashem that we can develop on every Shabbat, that if we could just tap into that, we would call every Shabbat Gadol, but especially this Shabbat, because on this Shabbat, we know that every time there's a holiday that comes in the calendar, we have special light and special energy and special potential, spiritual potential that comes down into the world. And those energies and lights and potential come in already on the Shabbat that precedes the holiday. So this Shabbat haGadol, is really a taste, not only of Shabbat, which anyway has that special closeness with Hashem, but it also has the energy and the light of Pesach. Now, Pesach is the light that we talked about last week. We talked about the engagement of Hashem and the Jewish people. We talked about the fact that Hashem just loves us unconditionally and showed us that when he chose us in Mitzrayim, when we were in the deepest levels of Shmutz. We really were. And I was reading something that was written by Shoshana Yudelman on Facebook, and I think I shared it somewhere. I don't know, but I could give it to you if you want. It was beautiful. She just said, like, you know, like we can understand sometimes if we have good marriages, Baruch Hashem, sometimes, you know, we have a bad day and we think that our husband is criticizing us and that it's about us and that he doesn't love us 100%. And we start reacting and responding to that. And we start crying, and we say, you know, if you wanted somebody perfect, you should have married somebody else. I'm not perfect, okay? And like we take it in a bad way, that as if our husband doesn't really love us and is criticizing us and is not fully appreciating us and so on. But sometimes she says that she reached this level after like a lot of inner work and a lot of learning on her own. And I was speaking to another friend who also said she's reached a point of like a little bit of a point of peace where after all this inner work that we're doing, like we finally realize that, you know what? It's not about us, and our husband really does love us. And he does love us unconditionally, and we don't have to cry out to him, you know? Like we don't have to cry. We don't have to respond in a bad way. We don't have to have this dance dynamic, this negativity, this freaking out that he's criticizing us. No, he really loves us. And maybe there was something else going on with him, you know? And maybe we don't understand, but like we do have to feel that he really does love us. And it's not, he doesn't want us to be perfect. He doesn't. He knows who we are and he loves us. And that's the level of Pesach. We have to realize that Hashem knows who we are and he loves us. Full stop. Stop. No more. No more crying out. We don't have to cry. Oh my God, I don't have this. I don't have that. Please, please, please give it to me. No, Hashem loves us. Okay? And we have to tap into that energy. That's the energy that we're looking for. I wanted to say one more thing. Thank you, Hashem, for reminding me. The idea of Chametz. Okay? Chametz is, there's this very cool thing that it says about Chametz, that we need to look for the Chametz in the chorim and the stakim, in the little holes and the little cracks. Like, you know how, like we're going to the back of the counter and the inside the cracks in the marble, on the granite on your countertops, or the back of the drawers, and you're like taking with toothpicks, you're like picking out all the tiny little crumbs that are there. You're really, really getting rid of the chametz. And he's like, what is the deal with that? You know, and especially b'tikat chametz, we do the night before Pesach. We have to go through with a ner, leor haner, bodkim leor haner. Okay, bodkim b'chorim uvasdakim. You're looking in the cracks and in the corners and in the holes, and you're also using a light. You're using a candle. So he explains that the thing about Pesach is also the idea that since we're starting out anew, since we're celebrating that engagement, that connection, that relationship with Hashem, that Hashem loves us unconditionally, we have this potential that we can now really find the chametz. The chametz in us is that little root of evil. Okay, that root of bad that Hashem gave us. And it's not something to be upset about. We're going to go back to it after Pesach. You know what I mean? We have a tikun. It's going to take us all year or all our lives, 80, 90, 100 years to deal with this particular root of all our flaws and all of our lackings. But the fact that we are loved unconditionally on this holiday and that we can realize that gives us a little bit of energy to work on that real root of tikun that you have. Like Hashem gave every single person something different. And we need to look for it. We need to find it. We need to uproot it. We need to really at least have a plan during this week of how to get rid of that thing that we were put in this world to fix. Okay, and each of us has something else. And he says it could be that you could be a very religious person and you'll go up to heaven at the end of 120 years and you will get to Shemayim and Hashem will say to you, honey, you did great. You did a lot of Shabbos. You had a lot of, you did kashrut. You put a mezuzah on your house. You did everything you're supposed to do. But in the end of the day, you did not uproot. You didn't even know the real root cause of all your flaws and all your lackings. And that's what we're looking for. Now, how do we know what it is? Le'or haner. You need to take that candle. Now, what's a candle? Ner Hashem nishmat Adam. The candle of Hashem is the neshama of a person. And he says this beautiful. Nishmat Adam telamdenu. Every person has a soul. And that soul is a chelek eloka mima'al. It's a piece of Hashem. It's an image of Hashem. It's a part of Hashem, so to speak, because Hashem doesn't have parts. But it's a little bit of godliness in us that gives us the insight into whatever it is that we need to know. So if we're trying to figure out, what is my personal tikkun? What's my major flaw? Like some people, it's desires. Like some people have a tendency to be not completely truthful, like air, like the element of air is like not authentic, is that your root? Are you not real? Are you not truthful? Are you too the fire would be like too condescending and critical and angry? Is that your root? What is your root? Some people have this water, like the water, the flowing, the desires, the addiction possibility, like the tendency towards that. Everybody has a different tikun. And our neshama, the ner that we have inside of us, the candle that we have inside of us, is supposed to teach us that. And we just need to work on it. And we need to look as much as we can in the chorim, in all the little cracks. And this is the great thing. Ad makom sheyado magaat. We need to clean out the chametz as far as our hands can get to. If your hands can't get to any more, you did your job. But you have to try. You have to try as far as you can get. There's some little corners that I can't reach with my hands. I just can't. I know that there's chametz maybe behind a little thing in the oven, but I can't get to it. So finished. You can give up, but you need to try as much as possible. So that is also the idea here. Okay, so that's the chametz. And last but not least, the idea of Sipur Yitziat Mitzrayim. We were talking about with our chavrusas on Wednesday this week, that what is it? It's so interesting, the Sipur Yitziat Mitzrayim, this idea of telling over the story of Yitziat Mitzrayim. Like every other mitzvah doesn't have this ongoing kol hamarbeh. The more you tell, harei zeh mishubach, it's praiseworthy. The more you tell, it's a strange thing. Like you don't have that with any other mitzvah. Like the more you blow the shofar, the better. No, like you just do it once and call it a day. With the story, he says there's a few things. First of all, you are concretizing your Emunah for the entire year. On this night, on Leila Seder night, we are concretizing our Emunah for the entire year. And we compared it to starter for sourdough. Now, I am not an understander of sourdough and a starter, but the girls were telling me that you can have a starter for sourdough that goes back 100 years, okay? So the more, the better. And Netivot Shalom was saying, the older the better, and the more the better. And Netivot Shalom saying that if every generation tells their sons, and their sons tell their sons, and obviously daughters, moms and dads telling their sons and daughters, this story, it creates a power that goes from generation to generation, and it's like the unity of the story. It's a narrative that is the national story, and it combines the power of that story and that concretization. It combines with everybody else's from all the previous generations, and it will continue on and on and on. So you're part of this humongous, unified national story, and that has such power. And that's the kind of power that we need for us to go the whole year. This is our Emunah. This is the night of Emunah. And he says something really, really cool, and I will stop at this point. That kol hamarbeh l'saper, the more you talk, the better, because At the end of, like when we left Mitzrayim, we did not have the ability to speak. We did not have the ability to speak. It says, Sagar Alehem Hamidbar. The desert has closed around them, closed on them. But it's not only the word desert. Midbar is from the root of midaber, to speak. It was closed. The ability to speak was closed. They weren't able to speak because of the slave mentality, because of the horrible hostage situation, and like just the fact that we were in such depths of despair. We just couldn't get out of it to speak, to actually clarify, to have the understanding of what happened here. What did Hashem have in mind for us? We couldn't speak that first year, okay? But since then, every single year afterwards, we were able to have the clarity, and we were able to speak, and we were able to have perspective, and to create a story, to create a narrative. And that is really my wish for everybody here, is that this Leil HaSeder, we will have the clarity, we will have the Emunah, we will be able to connect to that starter from generations past, and we will be able, with that unity and with that power and with that concretization, we will hopefully see a full geula, a full redemption this year, that we will be able to take with us and tell our children, and continue that story for forever. Hopefully, geula shlema, redemption, full redemption. Have a great Shabbat haGadol and a great Pesach.